For those of you who are really burned out on politics, let me offer an alternate perspective. It's not like zero things were happening and now all of the things are happening and people are getting crazy. This has just been the status quo of the world for all of history. And even if we get the good outcome, that takes time. All throughout history, all the events that you read about, it felt like to the people of that time that the world was burning. This is the status quo. And that doesn't mean the world is not burning. It just means like you are the firefighter. Like this is how you're supposed to feel, but understand you should also live your life as well. I'm going to sound really heartless, but let me apply this perspective to what's happening in the Middle East, right? The way I see it, it's two groups fighting over a territory. One group was losing, and so they were conducting insurgency and like guerrilla warfare to the dominant group. And then on October of a couple years ago, they had a successful enough operation that the dominant group felt justified in the narrative in taking more open and hostile action. The human cost of that is real. But if you zoom out, it's two groups fighting over territory. There's also an element of two superpowers fighting a proxy war, right? The USA and Iran. We've read about that already and we've gotten past these events, right? You have to affect change, of course, but like you take Vietnam, for example, it's a similar story. And like the people protesting, they thought it was a big deal too, and they were right. I'm not saying they're wrong, but like when we look back on history, the success of like stopping that Vietnam operation, that took a lot of time. The same with the ICE raids that are happening right now. Understand both sides of the aisle have a vested interest in making that seem like the biggest deal on earth. The liberals because they hate it and they want it to stop, and Trump because he likes it and it makes him look good. But in 50 years, the history books will look back and just say the USA rethinks its immigration policy. The same with Ukraine, right? Russia's influence has been shrinking, USA's influence has been growing, and the human cost of, the ICE raids and Ukraine is very real. But in 50 years, the textbooks will just say this is the post-Cold War era and maybe also the death throes of Russia. Now, this sounds really heartless and I'm gonna get bean souped, but I'm not trying to tell you that it's not a big deal. I'm telling you it's been a big deal for all of history. And so if your standard is zero things were happening, now crazy things are happening, we gotta stop and go back to zero, you're gonna be driven crazy. If we can reduce proxy wars and disputes over territory that devolve into violence without the use of nukes and like other countries getting involved in creating a World War III, we will have done a tremendous job. If we can reduce the occurrence of these things by 20% over our lifetime, over a period of 50 years, we have done a tremendous job as a generation. So for those of you who are very politically active and very aware, I'm not telling you to stop doing what you're doing. I'm just telling you like this is history and you are on the right side of history, hopefully. Everything you learned about in the textbooks, the Vietnam War, the Cold War, Berlin, the Korean War. I think the only like standout thing is the missile crisis, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Other than that, this has been the status quo going all the way back to at least the 1500s and probably before that. I'm trying to convey a non-condescending version of the nothing ever happens viewpoint. It's that everything's always been happening. It didn't just start recently, and if we can reduce the suck by 20% over our lifetimes, then we will have done a good job, and we won't see the results of that over decades. If Ukraine resolves in the span of like 15 years, understand this is possibly the end of an empire in Russia. If we get out of this with no nukes and no other countries sending troops and possibly creating a World War III, we have done a tremendous job as a generation. So the point of this video is like, keep doing what you're doing, keep feeling as you're feeling, but also understand that you're not doing a bad job or anything like that. You're not making it any worse, and the world isn't actually getting any worse. It's always been on fire. We didn't start the fire. It's always been burning since the world was turning.